It's Maya Joy. Welcome back to the Maya's Dream channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about following your intuition, how to do it, why so many of us don't do it, and where to get started. So today's video is based on a question from a subscriber who is going to be traveling to Washington, D.C. And she is someone who's wanted to go into the city for a really long time. And she's someone who almost always makes plans, makes lists, kind of plans things down to the letter. And she wants this upcoming trip here this spring to be really special. And her goal and objective is to, for the first time, to be able to follow her intuition as she travels throughout the city. So she wrote to me and asked me if I would make a video about this topic. And her main question was, how can I quiet my mind and allow my intuition to guide me where I need to go? How can I allow myself to be guided? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about why so many of us struggle to use our intuition in everyday matters. And we're going to talk about how to get started, how to begin to sort of hear the voice of the intuition. And we're going to share some practical tools for letting go of control and letting the universe guide you. Every single person, every single soul is born into the earth plane with an innate intuition, with a sense of knowing that sort of defies the logical mind, a knowing without evidence, a knowing without proof, and yet a knowing that so very often is so very accurate. So the issue for people who struggle to trust their intuition is just that. It's about the trust portion almost always, not about the intuition itself. So we all have this innate intuition, these innate signals which are guiding us to our highest path. But most of us actually talk ourselves out of using our intuition. And we can do that for a lot of reasons. From the time that most of us are just so little and we start school, we're taught to listen to facts, to listen to statistics, to tabulate numbers, and to use our logical or rational mind to make decisions. And you guys, I am not discounting this. This is really important. I mean, there are times in life where we absolutely need to rely on logic in order to stay safe and to stay secure. But there are also many, many times in life where trusting in our intuition is the best option. I think that the reason why so many of us don't trust our intuition is really because we are afraid. I think so many of us feel like we have to be some kind of amazing psychic or medium or something to have great intuition. We put all this pressure on ourselves. I mean, there's all these TV shows and there's all these famous psychics and mediums, and they seem to display these incredible abilities. And I think a lot of us that feel like we're just, regular people, maybe a regular empath walking around the street, we're a little bit afraid. I think we're afraid that our intuition is going to be wrong. And I think that many of us struggle with insecurity and we struggle with self-doubt. I spent probably the first 23 years of my life sort of quieting the voice of my intuition. For me, it usually came through as feelings. I would meet someone and I would get a feeling about them, or I would get a feeling about how a certain day was going to go maybe, or a certain event. Maybe I'd have a really good feeling about it or a bad feeling about it. And I think in my own inner dialogue, I would sort of talk myself out of it. I'd be like, no, why do you think that? Like, I would have this internal dialogue where I often talked myself out of my intuition. Those of you who know my life story really well will know that I really didn't use my intuition until I had to. So I actually was struck with a terrible, terrible illness when I was about 23. And I actually lost the ability to like speak and write. Like I lost my language ability. And I was just so sick that my brain, like for a brief time, actually like stopped working. And that's when I started relying on my intuition. I almost had to. I had to feel my way through life. And I hope that none of you have to experience that in order to bring your intuition on board and really surrender to your intuition. But I acknowledge that it can be a scary thing to begin to listen to these signals that can be very nonlinear, for which we often don't have any tangible proof or evidence. So, my strategy for all of you who are listening, who want to trust your intuition more, is to start small and to make it really light and make it really fun. And this is actually what I did myself. So, when I first decided that I wanted to begin doing readings professionally, I knew that the only way that I could really do this was to take the pressure off. So, that's a tip for all of you. You've got to take the pressure off of yourself and make it light and fun in the beginning. Like, this is really important. So, the way that I did that is I decided that when I started selling readings that I was going to do them by donation. So when I first started, I did all of my readings by donation, and I even said that people could barter with me. So it's like, I'll give you a reading and you can send me something, you can send a donation, anything, make me something. Some people made art, just all this stuff. I just tried to make it a light and fun thing. And then when I finally started charging money, I just charged $15 because I said to myself, this doesn't feel too serious, right? It's $15. Like, I know I can give a person a value of $15. And then I always did another job on the other side too, just to make sure I was always safe and secure. And so my intuition wasn't becoming something that felt like a security risk, right? Because if I was trying to do a reading and use my intuition, and there was a chance that, my security was at risk if I did it wrong, that was going to actually block my intuition. It was going to introduce an energy of stress and fear. And in so many ways, stress and fear are what block our intuitive signals. So when we're the most clear, as many of you will know, when we're the most intuitive, a lot of times we'll get sort of impressions when we're like falling off to sleep or waking from sleep. And it's because we're most receptive to intuitive information when we are calm and when we are open and when we are aware of the signals which are coming to us emotionally and coming to us physically. It's when we are not in that sort of fight or flight mode, when we're not in that analytical mode, but when we're in an open, almost kind of daydreamy imagination type of space. I mean, we want to be aware and alert, but when we're in a space of being able to receive, and when our physical body is in a very tense state, it can be very difficult to feel, to kind of let go and feel. So my first sort of tip to anyone who wants to trust their intuition more is to actually begin by addressing the insecurity and the fear and the self-doubt. And the way to do that is to actually take almost like for those of you who are familiar with psychology, take almost like a cognitive behavioral therapy kind of approach. And what that basically means is create for yourself very small, safe exposures to the experience of using your intuition to make choices or to navigate life. So start in a situation that doesn't feel too risky. Begin there, and then kind of once you see, okay, nothing too terrible happened, in a small way, kind of ramp up and ramp up and ramp up until it's not scary anymore to trust your intuition. And this is what I actually did with my readings and stuff when I was beginning as a psychic. I started really, really small. I just did little written messages at first and short messages. And now I do my readings for, an hour, all just completely just open, just channeling through messages from the guides and all these things. But I did not start there. So start small. So for an example of starting small, let's say you're someone who's very planful and you really like predictability and, assuredness. And so let's say like one thing you could do to start your intuition is say that you're hungry. Let's say you're hungry and you want a snack and you normally always go to the same little cafe and you always order something that that you really like, the best little snack that you can rely on. Maybe you decide, okay, I want to expose myself to following my intuition. So I've always been kind of interested in this other little part of town. Maybe it's the little kind of artistic nook or area of town. But I'd never been there before, but I once drove through so I think that feels good. Okay. This is kind of how our intuition speaks to us. It's like, okay, that feels good. It feels good when I think about that. So I'm going to go there and I'm just going to wander around until I kind of pass maybe a sign in front of one of the shops that really kind of lights my heart up, It lights my heart up a little bit. I get sometimes intuition can feel almost like butterflies in your stomach, like the positive kind, like if you're falling in love or something like that, right? Like though it can feel like those kind of sensations. And so, maybe you go down and you walk along the street or along the sidewalk and maybe, you walk past something and you get a little feeling, oh, I think I'll like it in there. And maybe you walk past another and it's like, oh, I think I'll like it in there. Sometimes when my intuition alerts me to multiple things, I just kind of go with what's random. You guys, I actually use my watch all the time. I have a smart watch, like a fitness watch. And sometimes the universe presents us with an abundance of good options, favorable options. And sometimes I'll just say, the screen on my watch, it actually times out if I'm not actively doing something on it. And so I'll just say, okay, if I look down at my watch and it's an odd number, then I'll go with this option. And if it's an even number, then I'll go with this option instead. And it's just a fun way to just realize that when we let go of control, amazing things can really, really happen. There is a higher guidance, a universal guidance, which wants to step in and assist us. So I guess another tip would be let God, source, the universe, the guides, the angels, whatever you believe in, let them know that you are wanting to use your intuition more and ask for help and assistance. Sometimes I take this for granted because that's literally how I start every single day. Before I even open my eyes, every single day, I'm always connecting with a higher power and asking that higher power to help guide and direct me and really help to just utilize my gifts and abilities for the greatest good on that particular day. So anyway, I recommend starting with a small exposure like that. You could even go even smaller. Let's say you're going to go out for ice cream and you love the Rocky Road. It's yes, I love the Rocky Road. This is my favorite flavor. I always go and I always get the Rocky Road. You want to start in situations like this. Okay, so maybe if you're in a situation like that and you do know that there's a part of you that wants to expand outwards and you've always had a feeling it's I look down and there's this purple one and it's huckleberry and it's I feel excited. Whenever I look at it, I feel one day I'd like to try that. But you don't because you're afraid. It's well, what if I don't like it? Then I've wasted my money. Might as well just go with what's tried and true. So usually our intuition, often it's going to guide us towards something that we've not done before or something that we've not tried before. So I would say a really good starting place is just to go into a situation that's relatively familiar, picking out a snack or something like that. But go into it with a new strategy. And the strategy is to go with what feels right. So start with something that is not a security fear, like something that doesn't evoke fear, that something that more so feels like a little adventure. Like you want to go into it with something that feels fun and feels light and feels like an adventure. And it's really in the beginning, it's about practicing releasing control. And usually you want to release control in the context of choosing from a number of safe options, okay? Not just like completely random, but like choose from a number of safe options. So another example would be like you want to invite a friend or something like that to do an activity with you. So you wouldn't just go probably on the street and just like whoever gives you a feeling, just like invite them to come with you to like a ball game or something like that. I mean, you could if you really trust, but that might feel a little scary because there could be some that you don't know who that person is. But something that you could do instead is you could actually like make a list, say for example, of like 10 or 11 people that you could imagine maybe you've gone to places with before or you've hung out with before. And then actually, maybe you know the safe option is your friend Cami or something like that. It's like, oh, she always goes everywhere with me and we always have a good time and she always says yes. But you say, okay, I'm going to cross off Cami because that's the one my logical mind is telling me I should pick her because she's available. She always says yes. We always have fun. But I want to let my intuition guide me to a new experience. And so what you might do, for example, is you just kind of tune into each person. Maybe you look at their name and then you open up to feeling. Like, okay, how do I feel if I imagine walking into the stadium with this person? And then maybe you circle the ones that give you a particular feeling. And now probably your mind is going to come up. Your mind's going to probably come up. Maybe your intuition feels really good about inviting your friend Tom. Okay. And so it's like, oh, I don't know. I get a good feeling like when I visualize walking in there with Tom. But then you say, oh, your intuition will say something like, but Tom, no, Tom's really busy. Tom, I don't even know if Tom likes baseball, and Tom has a girlfriend, and, you know, I don't know Tom that well. And like, so you're going to face some resistance most likely from your logical mind. But if it's kind of a safe situation, you almost want to ask yourself like, okay, what's the worst that'll happen? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen if I go with my intuition? Okay, so I'll send a text to Tom. Hey, Tom, have you ever been interested in, going to a baseball game? I've got tickets. Like, would you like to go? So the worst thing is Tom says, you know what? Actually, I am busy with work, and also I have a date with my girlfriend that night. Sorry, I can't. So the worst thing that can happen is the person says no, and that's okay. But what's the best thing that can happen, right? The best thing that can happen is, maybe Tom says, yes, that's amazing. Like, I really wanted to go and I couldn't get tickets. And then you go and you have like a great time together. So typically what will happen is that when you let your intuition direct you, there is a good outcome. So most of the time, like the outcome actually will be better and more fulfilling than simply using your mind alone. But I think like the best strategy, right, is to kind of use a little bit of both. So maybe let your mind, like when you're beginning to trust your intuition, let your mind generate a series of options that you know are safe and secure enough not to incite these kind of security fears. And then let your intuition choose from amongst a safe number of options. That's kind of the strategy that I would really, really recommend. And that's like one that I often use for myself too, like in navigating everyday life. But yeah, your intuition is amazing because it's able to discern things that the mind cannot. So let's say, for example, that you are going to be going, let's say you're going to be going to a city center or something like that. You're going to go to a museum or something. Maybe there's like 4 ways to get there. Sometimes I think of the intuition as being like a GPS. And GPSs these days, they're kind of magical, right? Like sometimes they can like generate all these different routes, and they're able to like pick up on the current traffic conditions and all these things that we can't see or can't know about. And sometimes, like, I notice the GPS will tell us, for example, that a route that our logical mind would deny, maybe because it's a few miles or kilometers longer, actually is the best route. Like our GPS uses all kinds of tabulations that we can't see, we don't know about, to alert us that that's like the best route. And so you can think of your intuition as being like a GPS. It is actually picking up on real things. Those things are just not able to be sensed like with our physical senses. So our physical eyes cannot see them, our physical ears cannot hear them, etc. But these are real things that our intuition is picking up on. So maybe we know, okay, there's 4 ways to get there. I could take the subway, I could take the train, I could walk, or I could take a cab, you know? And so what we do is we feel like, and our logical mind may begin to jump in and say, listen, okay, listen, like the subway is only $2.30, the cab's gonna be $40, blah, 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 blah. This will be fastest, this will be most direct. The logical mind pulls intensely on prior experience, and it pulls intensely on numbers, statistics, factual information. And I'm not saying that that's bad, but this video is about intuition. So like our intuition draws on information that comes from invisible means usually, and that often cannot be proven logically in that particular moment, right? And so to tune into our intuition, we get calm, we get clear, and then we allow ourselves to receive feelings around each of the possible options. So maybe first we visualize ourselves walking down the street, almost there, almost arriving at the museum. How does that feel? You know, when you visualize that, how does that feel? Maybe it feels good. It's like, oh yeah, I feel like I even feel like I'm getting some endorphins from the exercise. Like I feel like, oh, that's, yes, like, oh, I feel a little bit of workout, like in my muscles, nice oxygen coming into my, like, hey, that actually feels good. I didn't think it was going to. I didn't think so. I thought I might be cold, but no, that actually feels good. Okay, now I imagine like, oh, we're pulling in, I'm getting out of the cab, you know, maybe I'm handing a tip over to the cab driver. How does that feel? You know, and so on and so forth. And then you decide that you're going to go with whichever option, right? Maybe it is the walking option that ended up feeling the best. So you're opening up to receiving signals, and some people will get those signals as like emotional feelings. Some people will get those signals as like physical feelings in the body. Some people will get those signals as like visual signals. So that used to be what I always wanted, but it's not where I started. I started out basically purely with emotional feeling as my main intuitive sense. Now I mostly use vision, but I worked for a long time to cultivate my clairvoyance, as it's called. So now, like, oh, but I still have a journey with this, you guys. But now, like, sometimes I'll just pose a question to my guides or the angels, and I'll just immediately get a vision of what I should do. So, like, if I were in that situation, I'd be like, all right, universe, like, I want to go to the museum today. And then, like, immediately, before I would phrase the question usually to the guides, like in my head, like, hey, how should I? And like before I would even get to the end, like, how should I get there? Already they would have given me like, they probably would have given me an image of like a lift, because they always wanted me to rest more and stuff like that. So, and then I'd be like, are you sure? Are you sure? And they would just give me the vision over and over again of the lift or whatever. Sometimes I'd still resist my intuition a little bit, so I'd start visualizing something else, like the walking thing, and then they would give me the lift again, like as like a vision coming into my awareness, or they would say, okay, like here's how you're really gonna feel or what you're gonna experience if you choose that option. So if you're going against your intuition, maybe that'll be helpful for you all to know. Like if you're going against your intuition, usually you're going to have a bad feeling. Like usually you'll have an unsettled feeling. This happens to me still like once or twice a week. I'll use my mind to make a plan of what I want to do. And one of my big like lessons is doing too much. It's, you know, sometimes I still get hit with the illness pretty often actually. And on those days, I always think I can do a lot more than what I can actually do. That is an understatement. So I might make like a plan of what I'm going to do, and I'll like go over the plan, and maybe it's halfway through the day and I'm like, no, I can still get this done. Like, here's how I'm going to do it. And whenever I think about my plan and like what I'm going to do next, I'll just get this like horrible unsettled feeling. Sometimes it almost registers as like an anxiety, and I almost just think maybe I'm just anxious for no reason and stuff. But then eventually I'll realize, no, it's not all the time. It's only when I think about this plan. So I'll keep trying to proceed along the plan that I think makes sense to get everything done on time or whatever else, and then I'll get a bad feeling. And so you really want to pay attention to those feelings. But sometimes like your mind will still tell you, no, do that. It's the best option. It's the safe option. It's what's worked before. It's what you need to do for this reason, that reason, that reason. But if you continuously get an anxiety feeling or a not good feeling, that can be a sign that that's not the best path according to your intuition. So here's where we need to prepare for our intuitive experiences. Here's where the preparations become important. So what do I mean by preparations? Sometimes we need to prepare to use our intuition by getting in the correct state. And this means that we must be in a relatively homeostatic kind of state. We need to have a general sense of safety and security and calm in order to be able to receive signals. So if we're in a state where we're constantly stressed and we're constantly on edge and we're always feeling really negative or unsettled or insecure or restless, it's going to be very difficult for us to use our intuition because we're going to have a difficult time receiving the signals. So we want to be able to get to a calm and centered state where we can be present in the moment. And I always like to remind people, intuition happens in the moment. So usually when we're in a planning and an analytical state, we're oriented to the future. Okay, next Tuesday, next Saturday, it'll be this, and then this, and then this, or even like, much later today, this. Intuition is in the moment. It's bringing ourselves into the moment and alerting ourselves, gently receiving the signals coming to us through our emotions, through our visual imagination channels, through our body. It's about clearly receiving the signals while connecting with a possibility. That's going to be a great starting place. So some of us, though, really, truly are struggling and feeling very, very tense a lot of the time. That can be like an experience that an empath has. So if that's your experience, an important starting place is to bring calm into your body. And a quick way to do this in the moment is to breathe very deeply, like a couple of deep breaths with very slow exhales to kind of calm your central nervous system. I'm a big believer in using supplements and herbs to help us sustain a calm and relaxed state of body and mind, okay? And I am not a physician and I am not a psychologist or therapist, but if your psychologist, therapist, and physician say it's okay, I recommend considering some of these options to help you achieve a calm state of body and mind. So if you're interested in using a vitamin / mineral pathway, I highly recommend supplementing with magnesium. There's a variety of different types of magnesium, each of which are absorbed differently into the body, but that can be a really good starting place. Magnesium helps to actually relax our mind. It actually helps to relax our mind through turning down and blocking some of the same pathways in the brain that cause depression and anxiety. And it also brings calm to our muscles. So if you have like muscle aches or pain in the body and tension, magnesium can be a really good choice for you. So I recommend considering supplementing with magnesium. Also, vitamin B1 can be very good for stress, or a B complex vitamin. These vitamin and mineral pathways are really generally very safe pathways for supplementation to help bring calm into your system if every day you're struggling with a feeling of tension. In terms of herbal pathways, let's say you want to try something that's a bit more herbal. Maybe you want to bring in an adaptogenic herb. That can be a great thing to Google. Find one that matches for you. Check with your providers. But some really good tried and true ones that can help bring in calm to the body. One is ashwagandha. This can be really good. This can be a great way to dial down anxiety. It can help with sleep. It can help with hormonal issues. The one that I use myself on a daily basis is rhodiola. I like this as an adaptogenic herb because it brings a sense of calm while also enhancing productivity. So it doesn't make you sleepy. It kind of still allows you to be focused and to get things done while sort of taking the edge off. So I really like rhodiola for that reason. There's also holy basil, which is sometimes called tulsi. If you are like a type of anxious where you're like, go, 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 and it really like gets you fired up in that way and you can't calm down, the holy basil has more of like a sedative type of effect. So it brings in that kind of calm. For me, like when I took the holy basil, it was too strong. It was too strong. It was almost like being, it was almost like a sense of satisfaction just in doing absolutely nothing at all. Like, so it was kind of hard to do anything. So it was a little too sedative for me. Another really good one that I just love, this can be good if you maybe suffer with a bit of anxiety and also have like digestive issues, is lemon balm. So that one I really like too. But yeah, check with your provider. That's an important thing to do. Or there are other pathways too, which I've recently gotten really excited about, that work directly with the brain and central nervous system to help bring a sense of calm and well-being. One pathway for this is GABA, supplementing with GABA. GABA actually can help to calm us in the sense of really actually like slowing things down in our body. So if you had like, say, for example, anxiety, and you also had very high heart rate and high blood pressure, and you need to bring in a sense of calm and serenity on an actual physiological level, GABA can be useful in that regard. Another one that I love and enjoy is 5-HTP, which is the precursor to serotonin. So if you often have a feeling like that things are wrong, like you always just feel like, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but if you often feel like something is wrong, and you're very aware of what's going wrong in your environment and you have a tendency to need to like fix things, then 5-HTP could be for you. I really like the time release forms. But basically they increase serotonin, which helps us to feel a sense of satisfaction with what is. It generally promotes a sense of contentment and wellness. And that also can help if you struggle with insomnia as well. You could take it in the morning, but then notice you sleep better at night. So anyway, so those are some options. I support all of us in bringing about a state of calm and safety and serenity and wellness through whatever means resonate with you. But I think many of us can supplement in a way that's beneficial, whether it's with vitamins, minerals, adaptogens, neurotransmitters like we just covered, even certain foods. Many of us are drawn to stimulant foods like caffeine, for example. But if we pay attention, sometimes we'll find that that actually alters our intuition in a negative way. It can actually increase the anxiety and things like that. So starting to really pay attention to what you put in your body and what you do and how it affects your sense of well-being, because ultimately our intuition works the best. It generally will work the best when we feel trusting and loving and open, it also can work very, very well in true life or death situations, in which case we may not feel those things. But we're usually not in those situations. So in the day-to-day, we want to actually create within our physical body and mind a sense of calm and openness and serenity. So the quick hit way to do that is with your breath, some deep inhales and very slow exhales. Say, for example, 3 or 4 times. That can be a way, like if you start to feel that energy rising. It's also important to know yourself and know think about like times in your life where you have gotten accurate intuition. What were you doing during those times? Or times where you felt extra connected to the spirit world. What were you doing during those times? So for me, one of the things that I'm usually doing when I get these sense, well, I'm not a good example, you guys, because like I connect all the time, but like when it really happens is like when I'm in the shower, a lot of times, like if I don't listen to anything, sometimes I listen to podcasts and stuff when I'm in the shower, but if I just shower, wowie, I just get insight just pouring through. I really do. So for me, showers do it. I think things that tend to bring us into our body and into the present moment, often things that we find enjoyable, that bring us into the here and now, can help to strengthen our intuition. So for me, showers is a big one. Another big one for me is like walking in nature, or just working out in general. So I think it grounds me and centers me in my body, but it almost is ridiculous actually, because like I recently, like I've stopped jogging, but I used to jog like every Sunday as almost like a spiritual practice. Every time I would jog, I would actually become completely filled with just so many ideas, like for YouTube, like for this channel, and I never had time to like sit down and make all of them. And I would just be almost like just the absolute just clarity, total creative inspiration just flowing through me as I would jog. And so now I have all these ideas, all these notes, and I've got to get caught up before I start jogging again. But often things like walking in nature, even for me, sometimes things where I use my hands, but my mind can wander, like chopping up vegetables or different things like that, that connects me. But you want to know what connects you. What gets you in that open, receptive, creative state where information can flow into you. Also, you want to know, because we each have a different sort of chronotype, and when are you most open and receptive to messages coming in? So it's going to be different. Like some people are most, that have their brain working the best in the evenings, like after dinner, when the sun goes down. For some people, it's early morning. For some people, it's middle of the day. But you want to use your intuition when your mind feels most clear and connected. So you've got to kind of know yourself and start when you're in the best possible state. Okay? So now I want to talk about like, okay, I'm ready. I know how to listen to the signals. I've cultivated a good state of being. What can I actually do to practice utilizing the intuition and kind of letting go of control? Letting the universe, turning over control to a higher power. That's what I mean, okay? One thing that I love to do. One thing that I love to do. Sometimes I feel just very connected, very playful, like with the guides and everything, and I just let them just show me possibilities, and then I just go for it. So I kind of already shared an example like that, but like I said, that probably didn't happen until about like 2-3 years into using my intuition every day. Something I do all the time and I absolutely love is actually using a dice, like literally like use a dice or a random number generator. So like let's say that you're going to be in Washington, D.C., and you know that you want to go to a museum. So you decide, like, this is the approach I would recommend for this specific person. Like if you know that you're going to be there for 6 days, choose a topic of the day each day. So maybe one day is like a special restaurant. One day is a monument. One day is a museum. One day is a garden or whatever else. Like things you know you want to do. And then for each particular day, use your brain to come up with a series of options. So say, for example, the first day is the monument option, and you kind of like Google best monuments in Washington, D.C. or whatever. And ones that you find are very well rated, put them, like, get a notebook or something like that. That's really key. Like, get some kind of notebook or notepad on your phone or something like that, and number each of the options. Say, for example, you're going to get 6 options if you have a regular dice. Or you could use an online dice and you can make them numbered to however many you want. This is what I usually do, so depending on how many options there are. But either way, you use your brain to select a number of safe options for different monuments, and then call in your guides, like ask the guides, the angels, God, source, the universe, whatever you believe in. Please utilize this dice to reveal to me the best monument to see on Tuesday. And you've given each one a number, you roll the dice, and then it gives you a 3. And so you decide, yep, I'm not going to talk myself out of it. I'm going to number 3 on my list. So I'd recommend using an approach like that. That'd be one. So that's what came to mind first, because I do that all the time. Like, I do that like 100 times a day. No, I do it a lot. Like, whenever I have a decision where there's just a number of great options, I will do that if maybe say several feel quite good to me. We also talked about another option, which is the visualization option. So you could start, like, if you regularly meditate or feel like you get visual information, you could start by asking the guides, angels, God, source, universe, like, okay, like, I know that I want to do something today which will give me a feeling of satisfaction. Please, like, open my mind and heart to some possibilities of what that might be. And you close your eyes, and maybe the first thing you see is something totally unexpected. It's like it's somebody giving you a back massage, and you're like, whoa, are you sure? Like, but you're just open to receiving. And then you can utilize your logical mind later to check and make sure that what you were shown actually, like, exists. But maybe you first see that, and then the second thing you see is, like, on the lawn of the Washington Monument, like a morning yoga program or something, and you go, no way, like, but you see yourself kind of bending down to touch your toes, and you think, no way, but just note what comes, like, whatever comes, just note whatever comes. And then, afterwards, maybe you look and see, and so maybe the first thing you see is, like, massage parlor, like, near me or something like that, or massage in Washington, D.C., and you go, no way, like, actually, like, on the ground floor of the hotel that I'm staying in right now, there are massages available, and because I'm staying here, I can get one half price. Like, thank you, Spirit, like, for showing me the massage. And then maybe you go and you get the massage, and it's like the best experience you've ever had. Or you can't even believe it, like, you think, no, there's no way, but you Google yoga on the Washington Monument lawn, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's happening, like, at 11 a.m. on Thursday. No way, thank you, Spirit. But, like, that's another approach. Like, if you feel that you're at that level of just directly receiving, and you feel really safe and secure in that, then you can do the visualization. Or you can use visualization as a way to select from a number of safe options, like we talked about already. And that's where you kind of close your eyes and imagine yourself in each of the scenarios, and then tune into what feels the best. Another way to practice letting go of control and letting the universe guide you is with other people. So again, I think it's beneficial to have an intention of what you'd like to experience, either a feeling like, I want a relaxing, happy day, I want a feeling of satisfaction, or, I want to find myself today in a place that's very wonderful for taking Instagram photos or whatever. But you have an intention, but one really good way would be to let someone else decide. So you are asking the universe to work through another person to help guide you. So you could say, for example, that You want to find yourself in an area, right, where you could take wonderful photos for Instagram. So what you decide is that you're going to find a coffee shop. You're going to wake up in the morning, pack a bag with some snacks and a jacket and anything that you might need. Make sure you have your phone, maybe charger, camera, whatever else. And then you're going to go to the coffee shop that feels the best, because there's so many coffee shops. There's 3 in the same block that you're staying. You're going to wander in one in the morning, and you're just going to ask the barista who takes your order, hey, like, I want to take some good Instagram photos today. Where should I go? And whatever she says, you're going to go there. Like, you're going to go, so long as your intuition doesn't give you a terrible sinking feeling, because you always want to trust yourself above anybody else. But assuming that it feels neutral or good, then you'll go wherever that other person dictates. So that can be a good way to practice, like, letting go of control, is letting other people decide. You could do the same thing with the receptionist who is, at your hotel or anything like that. Also, you could find that it's beneficial to use an intuitive tool. So an example of this would be like a pendulum, for example. Like, you could get a pendulum. They're not too expensive, and watch like a quick video tutorial on how to use it. But usually they're about like $10 or so. You could have, for example, a map of the city, and you just kind of hold the pendulum over the map and see, like, what is it swinging towards, and maybe go there. So you could use an intuitive tool in that way. You could also use like cards, oracle cards, or an oracle deck to guide you, either by directly just pulling a card to tune into a number of different possibilities and then going with the card that feels best to you. Or you can use the card decks in more creative ways. For example, assigning a particular color or particular set of numbers to particular possibilities. So say again that you're trying to choose from, say, 5 possibilities, and you have a tarot deck. So there's 74 cards in the tarot deck. So maybe you assign cards 1 through 15 to option 1, and then cards 16 to 30 to option 2, so on and so forth. And then you just pull a card, and whatever number it is, you go with that option. So you can use intuitive tools like the pendulum, cards, dice for creative purposes. Like I said, I even use my watch a lot, like as kind of just an intuitive tool. So I do this especially if I want to do something that I know is a little bit rebellious. And so, like, maybe, for example, like, I want to eat a food or something like that that might not be so good for my body, something not too healthy. Or I want to do something that's kind of indulgent. Like, so I will close my eyes and I'll say, okay, spirit, like, if it's okay to do this today, then when I open my eyes and press the button on my watch, it will be a 7, for example. And then, I'll do that. Like, I'll open my eyes, like, I'll press the button on my watch, and actually a lot of times it is the number. So sometimes I think I'm doing something bad, but it turns out it's actually okay. So if it's a 7, then I'll go and do it. But like, let's say I push it and it's like, oh my gosh, it's a 2. Okay, well, then I know, at least like according to the universe as working through my watch, like, then it's not a good option. So like, I'll do that like a lot. And I just really enjoy the process myself of having fun working with the universe. So I really like that. But one thing I would say is definitely keep a log so that you know for the future. It doesn't have to be a formal log, but for me, like, I just have like a spiral bound, cute little like notebook, and every day I keep like little notes in it. So you want to keep notes of like, okay, I did this thing, and the intuitive signal I felt I was getting was towards this option. Okay, I went ahead and did that option. How did it turn out? Like, I had a feeling it was going to be fun, and it was fun, or like, whatever the case may be, like, or if you feel like you get like a really good hit, take note especially of what went well or what worked well. It's not necessary to like berate yourself for what didn't work. Like, this is a creative experimental process. You want to have like a sense of adventure and kind of approach it with an open mind and a feeling of fun and kind of like a scientific type of experimentation, and just enjoy yourself in the process of discovery. but actually like make some notes of what you did and how it turned out. And it really is an experience of growing with our intuition. Ultimately, it's about trust in ourselves, and it's about trust in the universe, and it always can get better. Like, no matter where you are with your intuition, you can always, always improve. And you can always improve your relationship to your intuition itself. Yes, that's one of the best things. I love that. It's one of my favorite things in life, is just working at it, having fun, and understanding my intuition and everyone's, it varies. So some days you slept great, you're feeling good, and the stars are aligned. Literally, like there are certain alignments of the stars that are better for this than others. The stars are aligned and it's just flowing to you. You're tuned right in. Other times your energies can be a bit depleted. There's really something stressing and worrying you, and the signal just isn't as good. So it's about enjoying the times when the signal is great and making the most of those times. And when it's not, just kind of letting yourself sometimes then just will rely a bit more like on just the regular tried and true, the logic or whatever else. But it's a journey, you guys. It's a journey, learning to let go, learning to trust in your intuition. And as long as if you try something new, as long as you learned, you succeeded. So even if you learned, I used the pendulum, for me, the pendulum didn't work so good, that means it was still a meaningful experience, because now you know, okay, the pendulum doesn't work so good for me, but whoa, the dice method, yes, that is great. Like that turned out really, really good. Or the visualization method, yeah, like that turned out really, really good. So embrace it with as a means of learning. And as you get more and more comfortable trusting in the non-linear, non-logical aspect of your mind, because intuition is also centered in our mind. I'll introduce you guys to the temporal lobes. The intuition comes from the brain too. It just doesn't come from the part of the brain that is affiliated with linear logic and such. But anyway, so as you work with that part of yourself more and more, it will get stronger and stronger, and you can enjoy, as time goes on, using your intuition to guide you in more and more serious types of situations, and just kind of ramping it up more and more until you really rely on your intuition for most things. So my final guidance to you is enjoy the journey and have fun. Have fun with all of it. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be beautiful. And no, truly, 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 like your guides, angels, the universe, a higher power, whatever higher power you work with and believe in, will be really excited to assist you in this regard. So set positive intentions, embrace a bit of whimsy, and have an amazing, amazing trip to Washington, D.C. for the subscriber who asked this question. You guys, this has been so long, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. I am hoping to start coming back for more regular videos very soon. Thank you all for your patience and your loyalty and your interest in my videos. It is always an honor to connect with all of you. Many blessings to you guys. Many, many, many blessings to you. And namaste.